My name is Fred Sandoval. I'm the Executive Director for the National Latino Behavioral Health Association, NALBA for short. Thank you for joining us today for our plática called Tenemos Voz, which means we have a voice on Latino peer recovery. With me today is our esteemed co-host, Nicole Montoya, Program Manager with the Office of Peer Recovery and Engagement. She'll be introducing herself in just a little bit, by the way. NALBA is a nonprofit agency dedicated to the well-being of Latinos across New Mexico and even across the United States. We're proud to be here today to host this plática along with the Office of Peer Recovery and Engagement, and for us to share that our mission here at NALBA is to address the disparities and the barriers that affect the behavioral health well-being of Latinos in our communities. So today we're excited to present today's Plática series called Tenemos Voz on Latino peer recovery and about the journey of hope and transformation. Today you're going to hear about an incredible journey of our guest speaker today, and we're so excited to have her here with us, and we'll introduce her in just a minute. Plática is the Spanish word for conversation. And today we're excited to hear about something very special. Our guest speaker actually has a watch party happening right in her location right now. So we're going to give a big shout out to the watch party folks there at Four Winds, and we're excited that they're here with us today. And we want to encourage them to ask questions as part of today's Pláticas too. Having said that, today we're going to highlight the story of our guest speaker. And so she's going to be able to say a little bit about what her journey has been like. And then we're also going to talk about what resources are available to help any person who's looking to start or is continuing on their road to recovery. We'd like to thank the Human Services Department for making this particular Plática series possible. So again, to OPRI, muchísimas gracias. We just know that OPRI is continuing to do some incredible work in our state. They are actually a model for this country of how to do peer recovery right. And so we want to give a big shout out to the department and to the team at OPRI. And of course, OPRI is under the leadership, of course, of Nicole Montoya. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask her to introduce herself, introduce our speaker, and then right after that, I'll make some introductory remarks and we're going to get started. So with that, Melisha, good to see you once again. It's been a little too long, but heck, we've been busy. You've been all over the state and probably in other places too, but good to see you again, comadre, and welcome back. And here we are co-hosting again, right?
Yes, we are, Freddie. We are co-hosting once again, and it feels like it's been like a year, but it hasn't. I just think this whole year has gone by quick. We just got out of the September Recovery Month. We've the Fentanyl Summit. I was sick for the Fentanyl Summit, but I know that it went down well. There was over 24 workshops in Bernalillo County last week. So shout out to them and to everybody who stepped up to the plate and partook in any of those workshops and Recovery Month and daily. And what you do in your communities is so important. So just a little bit about me and my credential. And I'm going on 4 years here with the Office of Peer Recovery and Engagement, and I'm so honored to be able to show up, be an example, and get to have this collaboration with NALBA so that we can feature peers and folks in recovery and where they work, to hear about how they got there, to honor them. And this week it's our kickoff really for FY 23 and 24 with our very first guest. And so we will be nice to see you again too, Mr. Sanchez. And so today we're gonna recognize Miss Nicole Montoya, who I'm honored to introduce because I met her, I believe it was in a couple of Septembers ago, maybe if not last September for sure. And let me tell you a little bit about her, and then Mr. Fred will start with the first question. And welcome everyone from wherever you're joining us from, Opry World, New Mexico. Sometimes we have folks from Los Angeles, Oklahoma, all over the place. So that being said, let me tell you just a little bit about my friend, my fellow CPSW, and now LSAA. Congratulations, Nicole Montoya. So Nicole is a certified peer support worker. She's also a licensed substance abuse associate at Four Winds Behavioral Health. She's passionate to advocate for addiction and recovery. She's got 3 daughters, Adriana, Kiera, and Deja. She draws inspiration from addiction, incarceration, and her sobriety. And she does have a watch party there. Her personal experience during incarceration fueled her determination to build a new life, not only for her and her daughters, but to her community and to her peers as well. And her journey as a CPSW began October 2022. So see, in September is when I met this beautiful woman in Springer, New Mexico. And I'm going to let her talk about that, along with several women who had the same dream of one day helping those who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Her involvement in the community has further solidified her commitment to helping others and on their own paths to recovery. I just love this woman dearly. I love all the women that we were able to meet and credential and train and all that in Springer, and we're still on that path. We're still going to the New Mexico Corrections Department's OPRI is, and we are taking in trainings. We have a beautiful vetting process. We have collaborators in the Department of Corrections who help us before we even have to get, before we meet our potential learners. We love it. It's a process that works for us, and we're going to continue this to all corrections departments in New Mexico. That being said, Mr. Fred, I'm going to turn it over to you and Miss Nicole. Your bio doesn't do justice to your heart, okay? Because I know that you've got so much more in there to tell us about, and I'm very excited to hear your journey thus far. So, Mr. Sandoval, it's your turn.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Or tag teaming, Yeah, remember in the old wrestling rings, they would tag team, ¿verdad? So we're tag teaming here, Nicole. So I'm happy to ask you the first question. You can tell Alicia knows a lot about you and your qualities and everything that you bring to today's Platica. But we'd like the entire Facebook audience to learn a little bit more about you. So why don't you take a little time to say a little bit more about yourself and help us get to know you, because this way we can see how much of an asset you are to our state and to the people you serve, and how it is that you probably stand as a role model for your own children too. So just take a little time to say more about yourself. And so Nicole, we're going to hand the microphone over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Montoya. I'm a little emotional today. Seeing militia, it just humbles me to go back to where I came from, the place I was years ago and how far I've come. And, I sit here with my classroom of students and just realize, like I'm doing a great thing. And who would have ever thought that I could have done this 5 years ago, And I'm emotional because it just brings me back to reality of what life really is and what we've overcome, what I've overcome. I've overcome so much throughout the years that it just, militia has been a very big, huge part of that, a big part of my recovery. And, working at Women in Leadership has brought me all that, because I'm able to go into the prisons and I'm able to bring life from outside back into the inside and remind everybody that there is life outside of these walls, So I'm just a little emotional. I apologize. I didn't think I was going to be like this. I just, but this is me. I think everybody knows me. I give my all, and I give my all, and I'm real to the realist, and here I am. So it's nice meeting you guys. Thank you for having me. I'm a little sick as well, so my throat's kind of a little raspy, but we've been trying to do this for quite some time, Militia was, she came in and joined us in, where were we? Well, we were in Western, the prison, and we talked and talked and talked, and she said, I want you to do this. So here I am. And that was almost a year ago that this has been in the work. So thank you for having me. I have my classroom here with me. I do teach, I did get my LSA not too long ago, and I work at Four Winds Behavioral Health. So I'm actually was in the middle of class, and they've joined me. So we have nine people as well.
Well, hello to
Oh
your
my God.
So
to
thank
your
you.
watch party out there. And then in the chat it says Mercedes Martinez is waving to you. She's celebrating you, Nicole. She says you're doing God's work. I believe that also. That being said, how do you, Nicole, help individuals begin to understand recovery? And why is it important to our families and our communities in New Mexico and all communities?
For me, personally, addiction doesn't pick one person and say, okay, well, this is gonna happen. Oh no, we're gonna take you, we're gonna do this to you. No, addiction does not discriminate, and it's just so sad that it happens a lot in our communities and and to the people that we love and the people, including ourselves. And we just don't, we how do I want to say this? I'm very passionate about it because I don't like to see a lot of the people I grew up with, a lot of my family, a lot of my friends have passed away from this, and have been incarcerated. I was just fortunate one to be able to get out of prison and do something about it and have my voice heard on the other end. So, I just think, I'm a little nervous, Melissa, you put me on the spot. I just think just being able to be that positive support in somebody else's life is very important, because I know I had that. I was fortunate enough to have that. There's so many people that do not have that support, that positivity in their life, and it just continues to be a downward spiral, but until they are able to get to know somebody, are able to meet somebody that is like, hey, let me hold your hand and let me help you through this. Let me, and so I feel like that's exactly how I try to do things, and because that's what was done for me. So
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Perfect. You're doing great, Nicole. You are doing amazingly. So this is a place to be vulnerable and transparent. And that's what I love about New Mexico CPSW's, Fred. That we can just speak our truth, and and that helps us all heal together, right? So
Yes.
it's Freddie's turn.
I rarely ever mute myself, pero mira, as I proceeded to put myself on mute. But anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right, Melisha. I think what we know about the peer specialists that are out there doing the work in the communities, they do it with such passion and compassion.
Mhm.
Uh, and this notion of recovery is such a powerful thing. And I want to ask you a question, Nicole, because it really speaks a little bit to this conversation today, this plática about recovery. And I want you to kind of walk us through what a day in your life looks like, right? When you think about all the people you help, uh, especially those people who are starting recovery or have been in recovery, I want you to kind of walk us through what that day looks like for you. But I want to make sure you get to share how particularly it helps the women that you help and what's unique to the women that you help that are in recovery, because their story, their journey is much different than the men. While there are similarities, there are some key differences. And I'd like you to say a little bit more about that, because firsthand as a mom, and with the experiences you've had, how difficult that is. But share what a day in your life looks like. Walk us through that a little bit. We'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Are you sure you want to hear that? Because my days go crazy around here. I'm just kidding. I don't see it as a job, honestly. I love what I do. I come to work every day, and I tell my clients that, they're the reason why I strive to be the best version of me. And it's true. I can't be preaching one thing and doing another. And I always say I can't tell you what you can and can't do, what's right or wrong, but I can lead by example, and you can see what has worked for me. And so when it comes in, a daily basis, it's hard to be straight out of incarceration or from being homeless or whatever your situation may be, and to come into a program. Not only are you battling with addiction, you're battling with mental health issues, and just trying to get that all situated, and just trying to get them on the right path, and just be like, hey, look, let's do this, I can help you. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And some people just give up. I noticed that, and it's just to have that extra push to remind them not to give up. It's gonna be okay. I promise you, it's gonna be okay. So that's, my life is just busy, busy, busy though. So, and I get to work from the moment I wake up to the time I go to sleep at night. It's just, it's busy. The best part of it is I get to be home and I get to be mom. I never thought I could be that again. So I get to be mom again. And I don't have to call from a prison cell, and I don't have to call from jail or whatever. So that's been my blessing.
Gosh.
Wow, that's all I could say is thank you for being brave and courageous enough to say that, by the way, because it helps, as Melisha said, to show that in our vulnerability, it's also the place where things have meaning, because life, the way it's handed out to us, looks different for each one of us, right? But it is particularly challenging for moms, ¿verdad? Because when you're separated from your children, it's probably one of the more painful experiences anyone could ever imagine. But then you're showing your resiliency now, your ability to spring back and say, well, I was without my kids for a time. I'm with my kids now, and it looks and feels and is different. And you probably cherish every instant and moment that you have your kids with you. And then you also get to tell people what that's like for moms, right? Because it's very different, right? Because the children have such an attachment to mom. So I want to say thank you for showing your vulnerability. And it's okay to talk about these things, because in part, it's a way we release the pain. It's a way
Yeah.
of saying this is what it feels like. As you said it feels crazy some days. ¿Sabes qué? It feels that way, and it looks that way, and it might be that way, but you're making sense of it, right? You take what you've experienced and you want to make sense for it, for yourself and for others. So thank you for saying that. And Melisha, I don't know about you, pero whew, I could feel how much that meant for her to say what she did. So, you as a mom, I mean, you certainly know this far better than I, and I know you want to say something about that. So I've got to make sure you jump in here. So.
It's important for New Mexico to have heard what Nicole just talked about and how they saw. There was a time in my life, Fred, and I was able to talk about that here on when I got interviewed, Nicole, about the effects it has on us. You mentioned it, I don't have to call from a jail cell anymore. I don't have to collect from prison. I don't have to, I can tuck my girls in at night, whether they're big. Last night, I'll share with you that, I had an amazing conversation with my son on the phone. We talked for about an hour. And I pulled over, and I was almost home, but I pulled over to not miss this time, and the bond that, that I now know in my heart and is with my hito, because I went through the same thing as you. You know, you were separated from your children. So was I. I came very within inches and a hair of not making it to where you were, mija, but jails and institutions is part of my story. And I can say that here on Nalba, because that isn't us today. Today, you talk about your daughters in your biography. I love that. We sit here and we talk about our children, and it does hit, it females, and that's the next question, how is recovery different for females? I don't know. I had a hole this big in my soul, and I couldn't fill it with anything, for years and years. And what I was trying to do was forgive myself for all the things that I had like removed. And that was a human, we're blessed with, mothers are blessed, or females are blessed with a gift of giving life to another human being. And the fact that in my life and in your life, substance pulled that away from us for a minute, and we were covering it up and filling that hole with different things. We have that back today. We have our courage. We have our herencia, our querencia, all that. Everything that we thought what was like stripped from us is not. We are, and we are workers amongst workers, and we are moms and daughters and sisters in recovery for other women, and also to the male community, because they're there to support us también, no? Collaborating with agencies. We leave a footprint now where we're at, where, in a positive way. Today we get to deal hope, and we come in with open hearts. And that's the best thing about being employed and credentialed and licensed like you. I love to see women getting their credential and then saying, I'm going back to school. I want to be that supervisor at that agency. I want to give voices to the voiceless there. And you're doing such an amazing job, and your colleagues are too. And thank Four Winds for hiring you there. And thank Stacy Burleson for giving you that shot when you came home at Women in Leadership. That's an amazing nonprofit. And all the nonprofits, that are out there that have women as leaders, that came from the same places we did. I'm overjoyed by this interview today. Every time we say kickoff, it gets better and better. And I'm just honored. I'm just so honored. But the next question you tied it up. You answered it probably without even knowing that it was going to say, how is recovery different for females? And it's ever changing. Like today, what works for us females, maybe tomorrow you're going to be the CEO of Four Winds. Who knows? But the possibilities are endless, for us once we get it from here to this part of us. And that was one of those roads that was like that. My plan was God's plan, so different. And I'm so glad. And it's an amazing, joyous, amazing ride with you. So, Mr. Fred.
Wow. You as well.
Well, Nicole, there you are with 9 of your peers sitting here getting to hear all of this. So you're modeling how to share, how to express your vulnerability, and how to talk about a journey that is so hopeful, right? And we have to make sure you get some shout outs from the people who are on this live Facebook right now, because besides the people who are live on Facebook, you have a watch party, and then we're going to record this, and you're going to still continue to see more questions and comments. So we want you to keep following this Platica, because No para hoy. It doesn't stop today. This plática keeps going on. We just get to have new people hear it. And shout out to Mercedes Martinez. She's calling us all the way from Chicago, Illinois. I want you to know. Juan Sanchez, who's up from the Norte. And we have the folks from Golden Change that are here with us today. Thank you for being here with us. And of course, Aurelio Rodriguez, all the way from Utah. So that tells you how far your message is getting. And for everyone who's here with us, thank you for asking comments or questions. And if there's anybody in your watch party that has any questions for you, let me just check in with you real quick. Nicole, do you have anybody in your watch party that would like to say something or would like
I
to
do.
ask a question?
I do. He would like to ask a question. I don't know. Do you want me to type it or do you want to ask it? I don't want you to.
No,
Just you can.
You
I
go
just-
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, well, what I wanted to ask is, what would you say to those that might not be brave enough to let go of their struggle with addiction or their toxic relationship? They're not brave enough to let that go or take that step forward to, get away from that. What would you say to that person, and what are the resources or the outlets that they can turn to for these people that don't feel brave enough to do it on their own?
Great question. Nicole, you want to go first, and then Militia, and let's. I think that is a great question, and it talks about a real space, right?
Yeah.
And letting go of these things, right?
For me personally, it was hard for me to let go. I lost my husband in 2019 to a heroin overdose. And, I was mad at the world, was mad at everybody. I was mad, just upset, and it was hard for me to let go. You know, I had to realize, once I went to prison, I did realize that, this isn't the life for me. This is, so I had to find somebody that was there for me, that understood me, that could talk to me and that I was comfortable with. And, that was my best friend. She's also a CPSW as well. She lives in Carlsbad, but before this was CPSW, she was just my friend. And, I was able to reach out and she was able to give me such good advice, while not listening to her advice and not taking her own advice, but going through her own struggles. I tend to catch myself doing the same thing, as giving advice. Am I listening to my own advice, or am I just dealing with my struggles head on? And I think being able to be in the community that we are in with the peer support, there's so much support behind it, where I can just make a phone call, I can send an email, I can just be in a store and run into somebody that is doing also the same thing that I am doing, and just have so much knowledge and so much understanding of what I'm going through, and just know that, just remind me that I'm not alone in this, and that's what helps me. Sorry. That's what helps me. And I do try to let my clients know, we teach some hard classes, and where you have to open up about things that you may not like to talk about, that you've put behind you, but that's not good to put those things behind you and keep them in a closet, right? I think that's why I'm so emotional now. I know where I've been, I know where I was, and I know where I don't want to be anymore. So, and like I said, I strive every day to come to work just to be the best possible version of me, to represent who we are. And just, and it's been great. I'm sorry. It's been great, and life has been awesome to me. I never thought I would be able to do the things that I'm doing now. I never thought I would have my children in my life like they are. You know, I do have adult children, you know, I have 2 adult children that you know, finally was able to come to me and tell me, Mom, we needed you in our life. I don't care what we had or who we had in our life. We needed our mom, you know. So coming to terms with that and being able to experience that with other people that are going through the same thing as I am, and accepting it, that, you know, that's what helped me. So.
Wow. Alicia, all I could say is talk about heartfelt, ¿verdad? And how much your kids have done and said that probably helps with your own healing, ¿verdad? Because
Absolutely.
sometimes our own guilt about thinking and feeling that we've hurt our children, but you are going through that healing period. So it's just thank you for sharing that. And Alicia, of course, not only can she empathize with that, at the same time, it's, you know, when the young gentleman who asked about, you know, how is it that we can break from those patterns or toxic relationships or from the addiction cycle, and how do we break from those, and the bravery it takes and the courage or the spark or the impetus to say, ya burra, ya descansa, I'm ready to make those changes, because the person's making those changes, you know, and choices. But Melisha, you want to add to that, because you have inspired many people in this state, and I know this firsthand, to continue down that path, that journey of recovery, and you've inspired people to start it too. So
Thank you.
please.
Thank you, Fred. And you know, we didn't get like this overnight. We did not get like this overnight. So to the gentleman that asked that question, that's a great question. Those were the questions that we asked ourselves. How do I break this? How do, you know, and there are people that are put in our lives at the time, you know, today it's more open, and it's, the resources are there. And I mean, you're sitting in a watch party with the biggest resource right there at Four Winds right now. And just keep watching her enough, and it's gonna, and talking to her, and talking to the male friends in your life, the male supports in your life. You know, a toxic relationship, when once you break, you know, you get, you know, you make that decision from here to here, you know, then the change will come. We just gotta be patient and get down to the root, you know. So don't be afraid of outside help, is what I was told. And I didn't even realize that that I had a peer before peer support was the thing, you know, and so openly used and talked about. Yeah, I was told, you know, just like minutes, millimeters, days, hold on to that chair, be willing, let's take some steps together. You're not alone. Nicole said something very big. You are not alone. There, you know, just know that, and you're not the failure. You're not the stigma. You're none of that. These are they're symptoms of what went on in our lives. And we get to work on those together. The more that we work on them, the better we get, you know. And the more steps we take together, it's just you know, you don't have to walk this walk solo. And toxic relationships, we break free of those. And then and we don't hold resentments, and the resentments that we do have, or we think we have, we write them, we talk about them, we don't hide, we don't live secret lives anymore. And that in itself is freeing. And like within days, something happens, and then all of a sudden you have weeks, and then months, and then you get to celebrate, you know, your years. And then you get to work on your mental health, because I don't know for some of the folks, but once the substance and the chemicals and all that was out of my system, then my mental health got a little better. But then there was things that would creep up, And then I didn't know that the word outside help meant, you might want to talk to somebody about this. And then you heal, because you can't open up you just can't open and see what's going on in there. You got to be willing to put some things on the table and look at them. What it was told for me was, let's put that backpack full of rocks, let's put it down, and then let's look inside it, and and then all of a sudden, we get jobs and we're held accountable, and then we feel bad because it's the end of the day, and what could we have done better? And then we get up and the sun shines and we try again. And everybody's important. Everyone is important. And the opposite of addiction is connection. And that's what I needed in my life, was to connect, and it's a beautiful thing, recovery, however that looks for you. And then, what I really love about this, sir, is that, a CPSW, working at an agency with a client, will never say, you need to do this. I loved what Nicole said earlier. Watch me, and this is what worked for me. Tell me your ideas. What do you want to do within your recovery? How can we help you? Your ideas matter, because this is going to be your recovery. And we want to just empower you to make those choices, make it easier to make those choices. So many resources out there right now. I hope we answered.
Yeah, well, those resources, maybe we can have Nicole tell us a little bit more about Four Winds.
Mm-hmm.
What are the resources that Four Winds has available for folks, and how do people get hold of you, and how do we make sure that your resources can be shared with people who are hearing this for the first time, right? Is what that recovery looks like. And so tell us a little bit more about Four Winds and what services you provide.
Well, Four Winds is a behavioral health, is a rehab, basically. We serve men and women. We have, I believe, 71 clients right now. And it gets to be a lot. I'm gonna admit, I am the only well, now we hired another CPSW here, but being the only CPSW here, I've done a lot. I try to help them with resources, finding IDs, birth certificates, social security cards. I try doing everything I can, and to getting them out, outside networking, where they can go to NA, they can go to AA, and try to get them set up with housing, going to the right people, going in the right direction, bus passes, you name it. I think I do it. Here, we have a great clinical team where, with mental health, especially with mental health, I think we got a great team here. Our counselors are awesome. They know what a lot of us have struggled with. I just lost my niece a few weeks ago to a fentanyl overdose. She was 14 years old, and it killed me because I could not find her the help she needed, because I wasn't her parent. And I think that's why I'm so emotional, because I'm sorry they didn't turn this off. I'm sorry. I think that's why I'm so emotional, because I get down on myself, because God, you could just do so much more. And I sit here and I sit with a classroom full of 9 people, and they're telling me constantly how great of a person I am, how much I've changed their life, how much I mean to them in their life and in their recovery. And it just brings me so much, it just brings me to tears, because I never thought I could be this person. I never thought I'd be able to help somebody just by walking in the door, and just bringing that smile to everybody's face, because I'm goofy and I tell everybody hello, and I have to make my way down the hall and tell everybody good morning and how are you, and I'm a talker. I'm a talker. And just to be constantly told how much how much of an impact I've made on their lives, and how appreciated I am, just by sharing my stories. You know, I do teach a lot of my classes by life experiences. You know, I'm an open book when it comes to certain things, when it comes to some things, you know, and I feel like it's more receptible that way by my clients. And like I said, but it's a great start. You know, we are a 3-month program that can turn into a 6-month program. It's, you know, if you could just, if rehab, or, you know, is what you need, then let's get you in there, you know. And it's up to you when you get, I always tell them it's up to you and what you're going to take out of this. We can give you all the tools you could possibly need, but are you going to go out there and make your house? No, you know, you need to do it. And it's what you take from the program and what tools they've learned here and take with them in the real world. That, I mean, I guess they are in the real world, we are in the real world. I have to rephrase that. You know, what you take with you outside of these walls, outside of prison walls, outside of jail walls, outside of the streets, you know, it's what you take with you, and what you do with those tools that's what matters. So
That's beautiful. Mr. Fred, you know, another part of tools, like you mentioned, Nicole, too, is I love what Mercedes put in the chat. So like holistic tools are amazing. Like if you know, if that's I love the fact that the person is, it's person centered. So like Miss Mercedes, she says when she's going through a challenge in her life, she has a favorite drum. You know, when I get to work in the morning, I have a favorite playlist of Native American flutes that I listen to, you know, for the first 2 hours of my morning. She talks about the drum, and she would play and attend powwows. So, and it's powerful. Talking circles are powerful with music. Mr. Sanchez talks about biological parts within our body they start to heal. It's like peeling the onion, right? Community heals us. Comunidad heals us. And sometimes community doesn't talk too much about, like, you know, the impact of that, but there's so much information to partake and educate and the masses. But talking about it and not being afraid to ask those questions, just like the gentleman in your group did, and you being so real around your group, you know, I know they're going to not forget this day. They're not going to forget the day that their CPSW told the truth right in front of New Mexico. Ana Placticas con Alba and Opry. We love you. Cool. Fred, you're next.
Yeah. Well, all I could say is you said something and it sparked my heart real fast, porque you mentioned and described yourself as an open book. And it reminds me of actually one of my favorite songs called Libro Abierto. I think it was written back in the late 1940s. But I'll make sure in just a second that I think it's back in the 1940s. But anyway, it's about the blank pages in our book, right? And when you're in recovery, you oftentimes get to have what? An open book with blank pages that you get to fill out. You get to retell the story, and you get to tell the story too, because it's now a new beginning for them. So every book is new and it has a beginning and an end, but you know, just like in between those covers, there's chapters and there's pages, and those life experiences we get to shape in recovery. And it's a powerful thing because we get to now do things in just exactly the way that we wanted to express for years that we couldn't because we struggled through these things. So all I could say is, Nicole, your bravery today is an example of how it is that we, in our own vulnerability, are doing what? now putting words to our blank pages. So I want to thank you for modeling that for the folks that are in your space right now, right there, because that's exactly how healing happens, ¿verdad? It's raw, it's vulnerable, it's emotional, but what it is, it's truth telling. And we do that by telling our story, ¿verdad? So these pláticas are a way to tell our story in a safe place, in a place that you can feel nurtured. And so, with the time that we have with you, Nicole, I want you to start now giving the Facebook audience a chance to now chime in here. So I want to share one of the comments that was made here. Mercedes Martinez, said something is very powerful, right? And when she said, you're expressing your grieving the loss of your relative, right? And when we have losses, those losses cause us to have emotional experiences where we're experiencing loss, pain, and that's a natural human reaction, right? And that grieving process helps us to start to grapple with things that sometimes are difficult to answer. Why it is that people may become vulnerable to addiction, especially younger and children and young adults and youth. Their vulnerability because their brains are still developing, their lives are just beginning, and all of that vulnerability that they're exposed to creates risks for them, right? And if one tries to experiment with something, sometimes what you don't know is what are found in these substances that can be threatening to our life. And you do some prevention work, or how do you address those kinds of issues for younger individuals to prevent them from starting use? Or if they have started, how do you help to mitigate or reduce the risks associated with drug use? And say a little bit more about how you all do that there at Four Winds. I think you might be on mute.
I'm sorry. No, here at Four Winds, we how do I say? We do not like them to take the Suboxone or methadone program here. But like what I have a lot of positive feedback with is you know, I can, like I've always said, I can show you where I went wrong and what this did to me. And, you can take that and you can either experience to do it yourself and experience maybe worse things that I've ever experienced by doing these things, or you can learn by that and say, I don't want to go do this and I don't want to go through this life in a rut like you have, and I want to be the best person I can be for myself, my children. We what we do, like, not here, like here, I love my job, I love my clients, I love everything, and we're able to work with a lot of people that have already been in recovery, where I want to touch bases. Well, I also work for a Women in Leadership with Stacy. She's awesome. We're out feeding homeless, we're out in needle exchange, we're out, it's just so, the streets are just so awful. When I came home from prison, it was just a total life change for me, like eye opener. And if we can go out there and just make sure somebody's keeping themselves safe, or somebody has a blanket, or somebody has a pair of socks at night to wear, that's it's the little things that matter, the little things that make us or help us be the best person we can, and continue to do the work that we do. I'm not saying we don't do the work here at Four Winds, we do, and and I understand it could get stressful. I was there once before. I was at a rehab, and I had to do what I had to do there just to complete compliance with probation, parole, whatever, and I understand where they come from, and I wish, want them, like Melissa said, 20 years down the road, I want them to be like, hey, remember that crazy girl, Nicole, who taught our DBT class? And she told us this story. I want them to remember me by that, that's what I want them to remember me by. And, I do everything I can. And when I can do it, it's never maybe let's see, let's see how we can do this. What solution can you bring to me? What is the solution you are looking for to resolve the problem that we're having right now? And a lot of it is, is let's find a solution on how we're going to get you in recovery and stay in recovery. So
Beautiful. God, that's a line in the poem right there, But hey, I want to know this before I go over to Militia. So what's the goofiest thing you've ever done in your work as a peer specialist? Because you told us your own kind of style, your own personality comes out however it does, right? But so what's the goofiest thing you ever did that really helped somebody?
oh, I do goofy things all the time, and my poor clients, they think they don't know if either I'm coming or going half the time. They're like, this girl. Well, the other day, we were full house, so many things going on, and I'm walking around like a chicken with no head, and then, Miss, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Nothing. I need to leave. Well, why haven't you left yet? Because I can't find my keys. Well, you can't find your keys, and I'm like, and I'm walking around holding the walkie-talkie and the keys together, and I'm like, I can't find my keys, and I just for 45 minutes I was just, and I had the whole house looking for the keys when I had them in my hand the whole entire. I am done, you guys. I care about you guys, but I gotta go take care of my business now. So I'm out of here. I gotta go. It was just one of them days where, you get it's okay. So in prison, I taught education. So what I learned by teaching that education was a lot of people that I was incarcerated with didn't have their diploma, or only went up to a third or fourth grade level in education. So they are not, so it was hard for them to read and write and do basic math and stuff. So I learned I was very patient. But by the end of the day, that day, I forget where I was going with the story. I'm sorry. Somebody walked in. By the end of that day, I was just like, I have to go. I can't do this. Like, you guys, I love you, but I have to. It was just it gets overwhelming sometimes. And sometimes I gotta take a time out for myself, and remind myself, hey, it's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to ask for help, or make those phone calls to the people that you trust, or the people not even that you trust, are the people that are going to tell you real life things. I don't like to be sugarcoating stuff, and I have a friend that is that person for me. She's not going to tell me what I want to hear. She's going to tell me what I need to hear, and the truth. And I appreciate that. So, and I think she's like I said, she's the one I look up to in our peer support work, and she's just awesome at what she does as well. And I just have a lot of encouragement from a lot of women out there, and a lot of men, a lot of both, and it's been great. So
That's awesome, Nicole. So within the midst of all that and the keys, because that sounds like something I would do, or my phone or something. And I was thinking the same thing that Mr. Rodriguez was thinking, because he said he thinks you're doing amazing work también, but do you have a self-care plan? Maybe you were leaving to do self-care. But when things get hard, both at work and in your personal life, and I think this goes to all CPSWs, all folks that are frontline workers, all folks, clinicians, directors, all of it, we give so much, but, we give and give, and then sometimes la taza or el vaso, whatever, Mr. Fred, you always have dichos, we can't give from a half full cup or however that works, but we have to stop. We have to stop and pause and see how we're doing. Like, what am I doing for Nicole? What am I doing for Militia? Like, last weekend, I personally was able to go and experience from one of our providers under BHSD some equine, some equine therapy. And pero I had to like practically break my arm for that self-care, but once I got there, like that time that for my, that between in here, we have so much that sometimes it doesn't match with our hearts. So I tell us about your self-care routine, or what would you tell your client to do,
Well, my personal self-care is I just love to go home and just cook dinner for my family, cook dinner for my kids, and just sit at home at our table, or not even our table, because I don't even think my kids, I think my mom and I are the only ones who actually sit at the kitchen table. And then it's just because I grew up doing that. But we have a little island and we just sit there and tell each other, we tell stories about the day. And I have one daughter that works at UNM hospital, and she just tells us crazy things about that, about her, what she's seen at night, and there, and that's interesting. And I have another one who works at Red Bull, and she does promotion for Red Bull. So she tells us all the cool free places that she's going for. They send her all over New Mexico. They send her all over. She's actually she had a Notre Dame game this week. So that's where she's at.
Wow.
And so, I just love to enjoy to do that. And, my nails aren't done today, but I have to have my nails done and my eyelashes on. And, that's my self-care. And I just, sometimes I gotta, just being around the people that I love most. That I thought had given up on me. And just to be reminded that they didn't give up on me. That's what I have self-care. The most self-care is just to remember that they never stopped loving me. And they were there for me in their own little ways. And I just appreciate that. So that is my self-care. Is just be with my family and my kids.
Gosh, we love you. We love you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Oh,
There's an emotional wreck this whole time.
No, but you're not it's not a wreck. I don't see you as an emotional wreck. What I see you as like a sunflower. It's just so weird, but normally I'm the one crying.
I know. I think we turned
and I'm getting to witness something growing. Like you're just like, you're full of life and you're grateful. What I see today coming out of you, Nicole, is gratitude for your children. And I get that right here. I feel you all the way over here. Gratitude for our children, gratitude for our recovery, gratitude for employment, gratitude for friends, gratitude for people asking the questions, and just being grateful for the fact that we can be present in our own area. You know what I mean? And nobody's going to judge us for being vulnerable and transparent. That's what I see. I see I love quotes. The one I have today and read today early this morning was that out of the suffering have emerged the strongest souls, and the most massive characters were seared with scars. We are seared with scars, and we have that. But I don't know. And Khalil Gibran wrote that, and I resonate with that. And I'm really loving this Platica today because I feel like I'm in like my living room with you and Fred, and New Mexico, watching and listening, and your Four Winds, right on. Shout out to Four Winds for the work they do. And, like I said earlier, all the nonprofits in the front lines, going out there, doing the research, burn coal, the state of New Mexico, NALBA, the SAMHSA peers that are out there doing the deed now, and every organization getting up in the morning, hitting their knees and saying, take me, take me where I'm supposed to go today. Let me be my best version of, like you said. And I think Miss Nicole just froze. Hijo.
Well, she
Oh
can
my
probably
gosh,
hear
okay,
us.
mira. Fred, I'm gonna give this over to you.
Oh gosh, darn! This is just amazing, and you know, what Nicole did is she just gifted all of us with a reminder of how to be, because of how when we take care of ourselves, it's about what we're grateful for, oftentimes, and so she left us with the gift of gratitude. So we're gonna reciprocate in kind by thanking her, by being grateful that she was here with us today to give of herself the way that she did. And to your colleagues sitting there with you that are part of your program, thank you so much for being here today. And for those of you on live Facebook, thank you so much. Your comments were wonderful. And more important, as Dr. Martinez says, adelante. And I will say this as we come to a close with today's Platica on Latinos in peer recovery, is that one is, you are a representation of what is the best of us. And thank you all for sharing and giving of your time, being here with us. We're grateful to you as our live Facebook audience, both live and recorded, because we're going to continue to share this particular story. So thank you all for being here. We'll leave you with those parting words of gratitude. And so all I could say is, Nicole, thank you for sharing that. Comadrecita and Melisha, thank you. We're always grateful to you for all that you do in our state, for the peers and the inspiration that you give every single day, to remind us all that why we're grateful that recovery is possible, and that not only is it possible, that there are new people every single day that are pursuing this path.
Yes.
We're here to encourage you, to support you, and please continue to listen to our Platicas, because we look forward to being able to inform, share, and support. So with that, thank you all very much for being here today. And please continue to watch us live on Facebook. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much, Nicole,
Thank
Melisha,
you.
and
Thank
all of you out
you.
there. Thank you for joining us today.
You
Bye-bye.
guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.